Hello, hi, and how are you? Welcome to episode 2 of Vegas Talent Live, filmed right here at the Wolf Studios, Las Vegas, Nevada. Bruce Riddell here with you. Once again, I'm going to be interviewing some great guests as we did the first episode. Tonight, we've got Ariann Black, we've got Tomer, we've got Rob Seven, and Chuck Rounds bringing us all the updated information with the fluctuation of entertainers and entertainment going on right here in Las Vegas. I got to tell you, people are always asking me, what is it like living here in Las Vegas? And I got to tell you, it's all about living, loving, laughing, and lap dances for all of us locals. Anytime we want one, they just give them to us. Can you only imagine that? And the entertainment, I've got some great guests coming up on the show this evening. As I have already mentioned their names, I look forward to interviewing each and every one of them. I got to tell you, a big event that just took place here in Las Vegas. One of the hotels that has a long tenured history came crumbling down with the implosion. Well, not all of it. Some of it stood straight up and erect, still would not fall down. Well, after 4 hours, they had to call somebody. They finally brought it down all the way to the ground, and another piece of history being removed from the Las Vegas skyline. Unbelievable. And now I'd like to bring out our first guest here this evening. She's been recognized as the sexiest, talented, most accomplished musician of our time. Will you please welcome the very lovely Arianne Black? Oh, yes, ma'am. You look wonderful.
Oh,
thank you so
you.
much for joining me here on Vegas Talent Live.
Well, thank you, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
Have a little seat here on our comfortable couch. Oh, fantastic. What is going on with you? I know you got a long tenured history in Las Vegas, but let me just tell you, all the accomplishments that you've received, Female Magician of the Year in various years throughout the 2000s, but a big accomplishment, Female Magician of the Decade. How wonderful. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. I know I was thrilled. To be honored with something like that really, for me, is so important. And I really believe in empowering other women. Mm-hmm. And it was a women's group that gave me that award.
Oh, wonderful.
It was a nice, thing.
Let's just take it back, though. I know you grew up in Canada, Edmonton, Canada.
Yes.
So did you grow up as a hockey fan?
A little bit, yeah,
Right.
because in Edmonton at the time, Gretzky was playing and Lafleur and a whole bunch of other really great players. Mm-hmm. So it was a really fun time to be watching hockey and to be an Oilers fan.
My goodness. Now tell me, 5 years old, you got started with magic.
Yes.
What kind of enlightened you that magic was something you wanted to do at 5 years old?
Well, I saw a magic trick and was totally and completely fascinated. My cousin, who was several years older than me, was into magic at the time, and he lived in Saskatoon. So we would go and visit, and at that age, you see a magic trick, and you don't quite realize things can and cannot happen at that age. But for me, it was just the coolest thing in the world. So I went home, and I sat down, and it took me about 3 months to kind of figure out how that card trick worked. And then we went back to visit. Well, he had a different trick. I didn't know there were different tricks. I was 5. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and that's how I became fascinated with magic. And for me, it's always been this interesting puzzle. My father's side of the family is very mathematical, science, and they're extremely good at taking things apart and putting things back together. Mm-hmm. And so my brain kind of works that way, and that's how I approach magic when I'm working on new routines, is I'll take it apart and put it back together the way I need it to be.
Okay, wonderful. So you really break it down and then rebuild it to how it's going to fit you and your style and how you can perform it in front of everybody.
Right.
That's fantastic. Now, 5 years old, I know at one point in time, because let's just say there's a lot of male magicians in the business. They're out there. You're a lovely-looking female. That may be a benefit, but it also could be a hinder for you, I would imagine, in some situations. But even at a young age, you were advised not to get involved with magic. Wasn't it your mother that took you to a store one day?
Yeah. So I'd been sick, and we went to the doctor's office, and right across the street there was a magic shop. And my mother knew that I wasn't really into candy, but that if she took me to the magic shop, that it would be like, getting a treat.
Yeah, exactly.
So we walked in, and the gentleman behind the counter showed us a couple, because my mother said that she wanted to buy a magic trick for her child. And then he realized that the trick was for me. And he said, is this magic trick for your daughter? And my mother's like, of course it is. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, magic's for boys, not for girls, and suggested that my mother buy me a doll instead.
My goodness. I bet he's biting on his words right now if he looks at your wonderful career that you've had. If he's ever got a chance to see you entertain others with your magic, unbelievable. I'm sure he's right now thinking, I had the opportunity of a lifetime to make that girl's career history right there.
Actually, oddly enough, he did. Because, there's that old saying that every dark cloud has a silver lining?
Yes.
So there was a gentleman who was in the magic shop that day, and he followed us out. And it was a rope trick that used 3 different sized ropes that I wanted to learn how to do. And he said, look, you can do this with the ribbons that are in your hair, pigtails.
Oh, okay.
And he showed us how to do it with those. And what it taught me was I don't need the items that you can buy in a magic shop to do magic. I can do them with anything. And if you just put a little imagination behind what you're doing, you don't need to do it the way it's sold in the store. And a lot of magicians will actually buy a trick and they do it just the way it's presented.
By the book, in a sense.
Right. And I learned at a very young age that you don't have to do that.
Well, that's good. That's great. And it's been a benefit for all of us that have watched you entertain over the many, many years. But I know that you also have a background in musical theater, but you are one of the very few that have a degree in magic.
I do. Woohoo! My parents are thrilled.
I can imagine the fans are thrilled.
Yeah. There's a school called Chavez School of Magic, and it's actually just a 6-month course, but what they do is they teach the type of magic that's really hard. It's the most complicated kind of magic, which happens to be my favorite.
Oh, okay. The most complicated.
Yeah. It's the things where things appear and disappear just with your hands. It's all sleight of hand. So, but I'll show you some of that later.
Okay, well, I can imagine. I got to tell you, a lot of times when the ladies make something disappear in their hand for me, I really get kind of embarrassed by that. But nonetheless, we won't go into that right now.
Thank you.
I will tell you this, though. Somehow you moved yourself all the way from Edmonton, Canada to New York. Tell me about that long trip, and how old were you?
All right, let's see. I was 19 at the time. I had finished college, and I moved to Los Angeles first. Realized that to live in Los Angeles, you really have to know how to drive. So it was either learn how to drive or move to New York. So I moved to New York City because the thought of driving a car at that time was a little daunting. And so I lived in New York City for 5 years and worked at Trump's Plaza. I was the resident magician there for quite a while, and worked at one of the oldest magic shop, Tannen's. And yeah, just had a great time living in New York.
So you got here for the weather, then you had to start looking at showrooms, you had to start looking at different stages and venues.
No, when I got here, shows hired acts.
Okay.
One of the things I didn't realize when I put my act together was that review shows didn't really like hiring females because they had so many female dancers in the show that they wanted to hire males to be in the show. And those were the acts. They'd hire female singers, but that wasn't an act. And they'd have an act that had a female in the act, but they basically only hired female or male acts. So myself, Connie Boyd, another female magician, she was in Follies. But yeah, we're pretty much the only 2 female acts that have worked in review shows as permanent acts.
So you starred in Splash.
I was the magician in Splash.
Okay, fantastic. That was a great running show for many, many years.
Yeah, and it was voted best show in Las Vegas for 18, 20 years in a row.
And they had 3 different versions. I think they had Splash 1, and then they revamped it Splash 2, and then Splash 3, and then eventually it moved on.
Splash 3 was kind of a combination of 1 and the best parts of 2, because Splash 2 just didn't, there was something about it that didn't work. And there was a joke backstage because they took the water tank out for Splash 2. That was the big thing. Because remember, it was the first water show in Vegas. They had that whole giant rain curtain, and then the water tank. Was not the first water show at all.
Right.
And they had the synchronized swimmers in the tank, and so instead of you looking down on top of the water, you actually looked sideways at the water. And so you could see the girls swimming in the tank, and they would do the synchronized swimming numbers in the tank, and they also did a mermaid number in the tank. But when they took the tank away, they kept the ice. And so a lot of the people who'd been in Splash ended up calling it Splat.
Now, I know you also have ties to the amazing Jonathan.
Yes.
And your own show itself, Secrets, which started off downtown, then moved to one of the off-strip properties. And
Yeah.
that is something you're looking forward to maybe coming back. But you have a great opportunity coming up at the Treasure Island.
I do have a great opportunity coming up at Treasure Island. You know, the face of Las Vegas is really changing, especially the face of entertainment here. So when I first came, you know, casinos bought shows. And now they're just basically landlords. Which for me is the kind of the downfall of entertainment here, because they're not picky and choosy about who comes into their casino. It's just who can pay the bill.
Right.
And until that changes, really the face of entertainment's kind of going to stay the way it is.
I think that's a big thing that the locals that have worked in the service industry over the years, since, you know, the 50s, 60s, 70s, have really noticed the changes over the years with the 2000 and now coming into our next decade as we're getting ready to approach.
Yeah.
Here already halfway through it, 2015, for goodness sakes. People are looking at it right away and they're thinking, matter of fact, in some of these showrooms, they're not even worried about actually selling the seats. They'll give them away or they'll just leave them stay open.
Well, and, you know, when I first came here, entertainment was a lost leader. So they did not expect shows to make money. And they used them as giveaways for people that had lost money at the casinos to entice them to stay and spend more money. Well, now, because people are renting the room from the casino, and I don't call it, they call it four-walling, I call it six-walling, because it's not just renting the room. It's renting the room, it's paying the ushers, it's paying the backstage staff, it's paying your on-stage staff, it's paying the advertising, it's paying everything. So now, your show really has to make money. And to go from shows not making money at all to all of a sudden now they have to make money, it's a giant leap. You know, it's that 180. And people are still trying to figure it out. And then when things happen, like we had that one ticket broker that went bankrupt because he was embezzling.
Not good.
And so all these shows, all of a sudden, you know, didn't get the money that he had stolen, basically stolen. And yeah, so it's all these weird things that are happening now in entertainment that just never used to, that just make it even more complicated.
I know later on we're going to be talking with Chuck Rounds. Maybe he can bring some highlight to things that are going behind the scenes that he may know, and he may have a ability to highlight for us also. But tell me about the act that you're going to be actually opening up for, and when's that going to start over at the Treasure Island?
Okay, so the show is called Voices of a Generation, and it's starring Rich Natoli, and he is an impressionist, and he's very good. And so I'm opening for him, so I'll be doing the first half hour, and then he'll come out and do his part. It's only every Tuesday, starting March 24th, and I'm really excited about it because it's at Treasure Island, and it's in this great little room. It's the Island Heat showroom where they do the luau's right now. And yeah, it's, even though it's the one day a week, you know, it's something that I really am excited about because both Rich and I are being brought in. We don't have to worry about it. All we have to worry about is making sure that our act is the best it can be.
Did you bring anything such as props with you here tonight that you can maybe show our guests that are tuning into Vegas Talent Live a little magic here
I
this
did,
evening?
and it's the kind of magic that I learned when I was with Chavez, the school.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. Well, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back with Arianne Black as she's going to perform some of her magic right here. Behind those seductive eyes lies a lot of mystery, so don't miss it. Come right back to Vegas Talent Live.